everybody, it's me, Jill, and welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of Vanderpump Rules, Season 7, Episode 24, The Reunion, Part 3. And here I am with 9.5 pages of notes. I was done after Part 1 of the reunion. I thought, what else is there to say? What else is there to fight about? Yet, here I am with Part 3 and all these notes, so let's get to it. All right, we, of course, are picking up right where we left off with Kristen saying that it's not her fault if James was raised by assholes. And James walking off. Okay, so now Lisa said, that went too far. She gets up to follow James, and as she's passing Kristen, she says, just take a breath. And she walks out, and Andy's like, yeah, dude, you were jumping in on every single question. And she's like, you're right. I'm sorry, Andy. But yeah, like that's gonna work. We're now backstage and we see Lisa trying to get James to go back out there, and then back out on the stage, they're all talking about how hated Katie is in the public eye. Because Katie's like, I'm getting death threats and everything just because I'm standing up for myself. Oh, sweetie. You really think it's because you're standing up for yourself? No. It's the way you talk to others, your tone, your demeanor, your entitled behavior, how nasty you treat your own husband. Those are the reasons you're getting death threats. Not that that is ever okay, by the way. Anyone who is giving Katie Maloney Schwartz a death threat needs to find a better use of their time. Because, I mean, really, why would you care that much? Anyway, Lisa and James do come back, and Andy changes the subject to Lala's anxiety. And Lala says, looking back now, they were driven by alcohol. I don't know if she's saying she hasn't had an anxiety attack since she stopped drinking, but I guess that probably exacerbated it. Probably whatever meds she was on for the anxiety mixed with alcohol was not a good combo. Shana talks about feeling left behind by Lala. We got to see the scene where she was saying that Lala didn't make out with her. And so they kind of laughed about that. But Shana backed off like immediately from things she had said during the season and was now kind of taking ownership of, feeling insecure, and that being the reason for those, comments, which is probably actually pretty accurate. Andy now brings up the Mexico trip and asks Schwartz why he invited James. And Schwartz said, well, I just, I thought maybe enough time had passed and Katie would be okay with it. Seriously? Do you think there was ever going to be enough time for Katie to be okay with it? It's comments like this that make me wonder if they're really married. Like, how is it that I know Katie better than you do, Tom? Ariana, of course, chimes in that she was pissed off that the whole blame went on to Sandoval when it really was both of the Toms who invited him. And then Tom said, well, I guess I kind of panicked, and in an act of cowardice, I blamed it all on Tom. And everybody laughs. And of course, that's the kind of charm that gets Tom Schwartz out of everything. Schwartz is like, Katie's voice was so scary, I didn't know what to do. Then the question was asked of James, why did you even want to go on that trip when it's all these people that don't like you and you don't like them? Katie's like, yeah, James, I want to know the answer to that. So he said, I feel like I earned that trip. The first trip, Jack said, I think he'll be a liability, and no offense, I believe you're the one that got arrested. So we get this whole montage of all these past trips that James was on, going back before my time because I haven't been watching that long. And he claims he was never a problem on any of these trips. And then he says that, his feelings were hurt, that he was invited and then disinvited. And this is part of what I don't like. When James says something vulnerable, like, my feelings were hurt, and then we cut to the girls and, Kristen's like, ugh, like, who cares? Or making a face like that. All you're doing is making people sympathetic toward James. You know, maybe it's because he's burned them too many times in the past. It's insincere when he says things like that. Or maybe they know that he puts on this act of poor me in front of the cameras and they're just so over it. But whatever it is, they're going to have to learn how to just bite their tongue and like hold their facial features, because I promise you, it is making viewers think that you're all bitches and oh, poor James. And he's not poor James. Now we move on to the Katie and Sandoval fight. Sandoval is not so mad about the fact that she was upset that James called her fat. That's not his issue. His issue is that she gave Lisa an ultimatum and he thinks that ultimatum is what got James fired. Had she not done that, James would still be working there. And that he thinks she's done things that are just as bad. So Andy, just to stir things up, man. Andy says, Schwartz, do you agree that Katie has done things that are just as bad to her coworkers? Side note to Katie, I would like you to watch the next scene and then watch it again, because the way you reacted, that's why people hate you. Not because you stand up for yourself. Okay, so you could tell Schwartz is like sweating like a whore in church. He is scared silly to answer this question. And his eyes keep like darting over to Katie to make sure he's like not going too far off course so that he can like correct himself and back up. But he said, she definitely has said things in the past that were not so great, but that was a long time ago. Bravo, of course, provides us a montage of the bad things that she said. But she's a changed person now, you know? She's reformed. I think she's really come a long way. And he puts his arm around her. And I love her very much. Katie, do not compare me to him at all. Yeah. You have to figure out a way around your anger, because you're taking it out on the wrong people. And the general public is very unsympathetic to you. When that many people are that unsympathetic to you and you're getting death threats and all this kind of stuff, yes, there's a whole bunch of kooks out there, crazy people. And should you ignore those? Yes, ignore those kind of, internet trolls. But when so many comments are negative, I think you might have to just take a little look inside. Just take a peek and see if maybe there isn't something you can adjust. And then Andy says to her, do you think it's a good idea to constantly be making fun of your husband's dick? And, there's some laughter, and honestly, Schwartz lets her off the hook. Because he's like, it's a classic penis. She keeps doing this with her hand, and it's just the whole thing. Honestly, I think Schwartz was working to be the clown and the funny guy to diffuse a situation where more people would start to hate Katie. And she really needs to appreciate that he did that. Because honestly, I wish she was held accountable for that. She never even really had to answer that question. And you know that, oh my God, Schwartz would never get away with criticizing a part of Katie's body. I mean, listen, not that he should ever get away with it, but I'm just saying she shouldn't either. Don't keep saying that. Like Andy said, if you keep criticizing it, it's not going to work for you anymore. Okay, so after a commercial break, Beau comes out. Yay! Just to make things a little better, we get a montage of Stassi's old boyfriends. Whew. They were bad, including Jack's. Andy asks Lisa what she thinks of Beau. And she said, well, I love Beau. I think they know that. But I will say, I also think that Beau is very lucky to have Stassi. And Stassi is just beaming, and I'm happy for her. I'm really happy that Lisa told Stassi and is continuing to tell Stassi that she too is a catch, I think she needs that, and she definitely didn't get it from her mother. You can see it on Stassi's face. We find out that Patrick cheated on Stassi. Everyone's like, Katie, I didn't know that. Everyone's like, I didn't know that. Why are you so surprised? I mean, I didn't know that either, but I'm definitely not surprised he did. Right? I would be surprised if he didn't. We find out that Beau never watched Vanderpump Rules, but after they started dating, he watched the pilot episode. And Jax goes, and that didn't scare you? And Beau's like, oh, yeah, it did. Everybody's laughing, and Jax goes, oh, okay then. So Kristen is the one that introduced Beau and Stassi, and Kristen met Beau when they were both doing an indie film together, and they had a big makeout scene very close up. We get to see a little clip of it, and it is really zoomed in on the two of them making out. So Stassi says that she really, really wants to be a better person for Beau and for herself. They talked about her dark passenger a little bit, and Beau thought that it was alcohol and Adderall. And so she has stopped taking Adderall altogether. Again, I think like these meds and alcohol are not mixing well for people. Andy then asks Beau, what was your reaction to Stassi's mom when she told her that she shouldn't be herself around you or it would mess things up? And he said, I literally don't know why she would ever say that. Stassi tells us that she hadn't spoken to her mother in 8 months, and then they were just at a shower together, I think a bridal shower. And while they were there, her mother apologized to her for everything. So I guess things are good now. Stassi missed her very much, and they're talking again, so that's good. Andy changes the subject to the guys' staycation at the Mondrian, and he said, Jax, you were acting very guilty about the fact that there were girls at this thing, and you and Beau had to end up calling your girlfriends. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I've messed up in the past, and I don't know. And Brittany goes, because he knows what to do. He did the right thing. We get to Kristen being drunk and solving. And why was she so upset when she learned that James was going to DJ that Billy's brunch at Sir? James goes, yeah, because you're obsessed with me. You are obsessed with James Kennedy. And Stassi's like, she is not obsessed with you. It was more about what was going on with Carter. And Kristen goes, it really was about James. It had nothing to do with Carter. That was a whole separate thing. That's why I was getting mad at everybody, because they were trying to tell me that I was really upset about Carter when I wasn't. And Andy said, what would you say was the number one reason why you and Carter broke up? And she said, because I didn't feel like he respected me enough to pay his way. I felt taken advantage of. Andy said, you confided in Stassi and Katie, yet you seemed surprised that they wanted you to break up with him. And Katie goes, I didn't want her to break up with him. And then Bravo shows us exactly the scene when Katie says, get the out now. Okay, well, I guess she didn't use the words break up with him. So then Andy asks her if she started to date anyone else. And she said, no, Carter and I do still live together right now. Okay. Stassi goes, why do you still live together? And she said, well, our dog got mauled by a pit bull. And and she starts getting really upset. And she's like, it's like my child. And listen, I do think that's tragic. I understand. But she's saying that because that happened, that I needed him physically and emotionally and mentally. Okay. We don't sleep in the same bed all the time. And I mean, my God, I think we've only had sex twice. Oh, you guys. Oh my God, the camera cuts to Ariana and her facial reaction to that was hilarious. So now Kristen, Stassi, and Katie are kind of going at it a little bit. I don't quite know the whole story, but I think Katie and Stassi were kind of telling her, listen, I'm so fed up with the fact that you keep complaining about this guy, so just leave him already. And she doesn't want that. She just wants them to listen to her. You know how it is sometimes. You just need to vent. You're not asking for someone to come up with the solution. You just want them to You just want to bitch for, you know what I mean? That happens sometimes. So I think that's where Kristen was. Maybe the other two thought it had gone beyond that point and now they were like so fed up with hearing bad things about Carter. If there's anything good about Carter, tell us that too so that we don't think you're insane for staying with him. She says, I just sit home alone now and cry because I'm afraid to call them. Katie's like, it's because you're settling. And Kristen's like, your type of love doesn't work for me. And Katie's finally like, okay. But that kind of ended unresolved. I don't know. I think the three of them are still friends. But we move on to kind of talk about Beau again, I think. And Andy asks Jax, did Stassi trade up from you? And Jax was like, oh, totally. And Stassi said, you know what? We both traded up. And that just made Brittany smile. Andy says, Stassi, is it hard to not be the most likable person in the relationship? And she's like, yeah, that is a problem. And they're kind of laughing. Katie, welcome to my world. No, Katie. Stassi will never be in your world. Back from a commercial, we get to talk about Schwartz and Katie's fight in Mexico. You remember the one where Schwartz tells her she's been a girlfriend for 7 years and that he can't stand the sound of her voice. Tom is of course cringing. He said, I think it was just like the last push, the last bit of like resentment that I just got out of me. And oh, sweetie, that will not be the last of the resentment. Trust me on that. She doesn't respect you. That's always going to rear its ugly head in your relationship. It's one-sided. She calls all the shots, and she's a mean tyrant. Katie says, oh, yeah, that'll be the last time I ask for attention. No, it won't. Tom's probably thinking, I wish. We talk about Ariana and Kristen's friendship, and Andy asks Sandoval, is that weird for you that your girlfriend and your ex-girlfriend are friends now? And he's like, not really. And I'm thinking to myself, what about asking Jax, is it weird that Stassi and Brittany are really good friends now? Come on. This group has all been with each other, haven't they? How is that any weirder than anything else? Brittany even said, I have a question. Do you think it's weirder that you're friends with James or Ariana is friends with Kristen? Or is it like the same? You're friends with your ex-girlfriend's ex. It's just boggles the mind. Ariana then says, I think the weirdest thing is that Tom has been able to be friends with Jax. And I was thinking, this was before I started watching too, but when Jax was with Stassi, he cheated on her. I think he had like a one-night stand with Kristen. Was Kristen in a relationship with Sandoval at the time? Maybe. So yes, it is bizarre that Sandoval could be friends with Jax again and that Stassi could be friends with Kristen again, right? Maybe both of them think that they did each other a favor. Sandoval is in a better place with Ariana, and Stassi's definitely in a better place with Beau. So maybe it's all just water under the bridge. We move on to Brittany and whether she is going to be a bridezilla. And Stassi said, oh yeah, we call her Bratzilla, but in the best way possible. Like if she wanted a cherry tree, she'd have it delivered from Japan just to be there because she's going to have every single thing she wants. Brittany's like, God. When you dream of your fairy tale wedding since you're 5 years old, I guess money's no object. I don't know. Oh, and also Lala is now a bridesmaid. Brittany was just feeling so bad about it. It was tearing her up inside. And so she did finally ask Lala to be a bridesmaid. And that brings the total up to 12 bridesmaids. Then there's just a lot of little things. Andy was impressed with Lisa doing that beer bong. We talk about Sandoval's long list of Jax's lies. Although he still stands by the fact that he was roommates with Channing Tatum. Yes, it was before he got the Mountain Dew commercial. Who cares? It just seems like a weird thing to lie about, but whatever. Andy asks Lisa, how does she think Jax will do as a married man? Lisa said, well, I hope very well. As I said, with Brittany by his side, she's his best asset. I mean, he's already cheated on Brittany, so it's not like she's preventing him from doing that. They talked about how Lisa compared Jax to Ken, saying that Ken was a dirty dog when he was younger, and he turned around, and so Jax is taking that as a real compliment. We talk about Shana at the engagement party and how it was a very different night for her and Adam. He asked her about Ethan, and he said, did you really like Ethan, or was that just somebody to get Adam jealous? And she's told him that she met Ethan when she did Watch What Happens Live. And he was one of the models who was fanning Nene Leakes when she came out on stage. And Andy goes, oh, seriously? And she's like, yep, that's where I met him. And so she's liked him ever since. And they had talked for about 6 months or texted back and forth or something. Andy said, and are you 32? And she said 33. I'll be 34 in May. And he said, okay. And you said that Botox makes you look 26. She kind of laughed and everybody said, yes, you look great. And she does. She's beautiful. Andy said, because I think Botox makes you look older. Ariana's like, that's rude. And he goes, well, oh no, I mean, she's gorgeous, but she's young. 34 is young. I get what he's saying. He thinks it's ridiculous. And then even Stassi's like, oh, she's been doing Botox since she was 12. And she kind of laughed at, that she started really young. So I don't know what's going on with these girls. I don't know why girls that young think they need Botox, but Andy has a right to his opinion, but he could have worded it a little bit differently. I guess Shana did end up giving him the certificate for the penguin that she adopted in his name, and Adam, he loved it. And she said that Adam hasn't been with any other woman since, but that they're not dating. So Shana has been with other people, and she feels a little bit bad about it, but we're not dating. So if he chooses not to be with anybody else, that's fine. He can do whatever he wants. Brittany got asked about the way Jax was treating her brothers and her dad, and Brittany said, oh, when I saw that, I was so mad, I was screaming at him. I couldn't believe he treated my family that way. So Jax didn't really have much of an excuse other than my sister was there and everything was going on and I was overwhelmed, and it was all, you better do this and you better treat her like that, and I was just like, well, what about me? How am I going to be treated? Okay. Andy said, but was your family offended when Jax said that he bought your brother a baby? Jax goes, what did I say? And Andy goes, you said you bought her brother a baby. And he's like, yeah. You say some things, Jax. You might want to think about what you say before you open your mouth. His answer to that is, I don't have a family. First of all, that's not true. Secondly, even if it was true, what? So that means you say nasty things about her family? That doesn't make any sense. Andy doesn't let him get away with that, though. And Andy goes, yes, you do. And he goes, well, I just mean, I know, I do. And yeah, and I have you guys. But I don't have a mom and dad is what I mean. Andy, you do. You have a mom. And he's just kind of shaking his head, and he hasn't spoken to her in I don't know how long. And Andy said, the wedding is 3 months away. Is your mom invited to the wedding? And then Brittany said, well, that's still up in the air. Jax is he's struggling with the fact that his mom kept him from seeing his dad before he died. He said that even if that was my dad's wish, even if my dad said, don't tell them, she still could have said, he's dying. Get your asses on a plane and get here now. He might have felt like, I don't want to bother the kids, I don't want to be a burden, or I don't want them to see me like this, or any of the things that he might have been thinking or feeling really wasn't fair to his children. They are now the ones that are living on without having that closure. And I kind of agree that his mom could have said, your dad made me promise not to tell you guys, but this is serious and I'm going to leave the decision up to you. And so then if they came, it could have even been like they could have pretended they just were coming for a surprise visit and they didn't even know. It could have been something like that. I don't know. It's tough. It's different for everybody, and it's hard to know what the right thing to do is. I am just sorry that it's now creating this divide between him and his own mom right now. So, you guys, while this whole thing is happening, this whole Jack's breaking down and talking about his mom, James is on his phone. He's looking down, sitting there texting. And so finally Stassi said, "Stop it." And he looks at her and she is pointing to the camera because the camera's on him now. But James is pissed because James doesn't care about Jax and Brittany or their wedding or Jax being upset about his mom or his dad being gone. James doesn't care about any of that. So he said, "It's not your job to tell me what to do." So now it's gotten the attention of Andy, and he's like, "What's going on over here?" And Stassi calls him out on, she goes, "He's swearing at me. It's not fair to me to be sitting next to him here. He keeps saying nasty things." And Brittany goes, "He will never be around me again. Talking about my family." So he's like, "Jax was talking about Raquel." And now Andy's getting involved, and he's like, "But why are you going after Brittany?" And he goes, "He talked about my girlfriend." So he's going to talk about his girlfriend. I get what he's saying, but everyone's telling him don't attack Brittany. And Andy goes, "But why Brittany? She's never done anything to you." And he goes, "I don't care." See, this is why I can never really be on James's side. He does not do himself any favors, that's for sure. Why should any of them care about your feelings, James, when you say my feelings got hurt? Why should any of them care about your feelings when you don't care about them either? In fact, you are so rude that you can't even sit there while Jax is breaking down. You have to be texting on your phone. You're just so bored that the conversation's not about you. Anyway, James kind of goes off on Andy now. He's like, "All right then, Andy. I hear you, Andy." And now Lisa goes, "James, don't yell at Andy." This is just so insane. She doesn't treat anybody else on that stage the way she treats James. She really does act like a mother figure to him. Really, anyway, it's no use because James is just James. So Andy just moves on because we're ready to wrap things up here. And he said, "James, so now that you're not working at SUR anymore and you really don't have any kind of a relationship with any of the other people here, what's your plans for the future? What's in store for you?" And he's like, "Well, I'm DJing and I'm traveling around the world and I've got high hopes." Okay, he's all happy again. We're back on James. I don't know, man. He asked Schwartz if he had a message for all of Katie's haters out there. And he's like, "Oh, well, man, I really wanted to say something, but, I know you need to just ignore the trolls." Yeah, you didn't really want to say anything. Anyway, did you? I think you're okay. He's probably inside somehow feeling vindicated. Anyway, guess who comes out now? It's Peter with a tray of shot glasses. Oh, I told you guys, that's Peter's role. But you know what? After this nasty reunion, Peter might be the smart one here. He's on every season. He doesn't have to get bogged down in all the fighting and backstabbing and all that stuff. I think he's probably just fine where he's at. Anyway, Ken comes out with Jiggy and Harrison, and Beau comes back out and he's got Mama's beer cheese. So we end with one softball question to Lisa. Who do you think's going to be the first one here to have a baby? And she says, Brittany. Surprise, surprise. And that's a wrap on season 7. God. I don't know what season 8 has in store. I think one of you guys told me that season 8 has already started filming. So I guess I can only assume it is with everybody still. But I do still maintain that they need to bring in some new blood, and maybe season 8 will be the transition season where we get less of the older ones and they're off in their houses having babies, and then we get more of a new fresh blood, I don't know, but I'll be watching and I'll probably be recapping it again. I don't know, we'll see. All right, that is it for me, and that is it for Vanderpump Rules. Thank you guys so much for watching with me And a special thank you to those of you who never watched Vanderpump Rules before, but you gave it a try because of my recaps. That made me feel awesome. So thank you very much. I really hope you enjoyed them. And you know, you'll still see me around for Housewives of Beverly Hills and Housewives of New York City. Thank you again. Please subscribe to Jill Informed if you haven't already. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Go ahead and click on that bell icon if you want a notification every time Jill Informed has a new video out. And leave a comment down below. How would you summarize season 7? What was your peak and what was your pit? What was your thorn? What was your rose for season 7? I'm going to have to give that some thought myself. All right. Thanks again, you guys. Bye-bye.